Hello everyone, this is Maverick Shooters and welcome to a different type of video. As today I'll be explaining my thought process on team building along with quick explanation of the Pokemon and sets I used to make this team, which I reached rank number 2 with somewhere around 1990 elo with this. After which I passed this team to my friend who used it in Smogon Premier League, the biggest Pokemon tournament of the year, and won with it. For myself, I've been actively playing SVOU since the start of the tier, usually very high on the ladder when I have the time to play it, along with playing in all regular and official tournaments of the year, doing pretty decently in them. Over the course of the tier, I have built countless teams for myself and my friends. I have used them to get wins in a lot of instances, so I figured to make a quick explanation video to help regular viewers improve, which I thought would be a good idea. If you are new and one of the 63% of the people who are not subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe and like the video for more content like this. And for my regular viewers, you can use this video as a guide or an example on how to team build an SVOU effectively. Now with all that said, let's get into the team explanation. Okay, so to start off, the star of this team is this Darkrai. As you can see, it's not running max special attack but instead max HP. So my initial idea was, because Darkrai has a lot of special attack anyways, it's probably fine to not invest in it, as it should still do good damage, but instead invest in the bulk. For the set, I decided Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, Nasty Plot, Wisp, as I thought that would be the perfect set. Dark Pulse and Ice Beam mostly cover all the Pokemon which I would need to cover. Wisp gives the Pokemon more bulk and Nasty Plot allows it to set up. You could alternatively use moves like Sludge Bomb, Focus Blast or whatever. It doesn't really matter, I prefer Ice Beam, but now that the team will be public, you can change around and play with the sets and EVs if you want. For the Terra type, I decided Poison, as it helps in resisting fighting and fairy moves, which is essential for Darkrai. It can also be clutch in situations like Iron Moth Sludge Waving and other stuff like that. Another key thing is Pokemon like Clodsire or Toxapex can't Toxic it if it Terra Poisons. This also works as a secondary T-Spike absorber if Tusk can't spin the T-Spikes away. Though team probably doesn't even care about T-Spikes much, as Ogerpon and Ting-Lu are the only Pokemon affected by it. To pair with it, I knew since I'm running leftovers, I need hazards and I need hazard removal. So then I went with Great Tusk. Great Tusk gives me rocks, it gives me spin, and it's an amazing ground type with very high attack. So Headlong Rush hits extremely hard. Ice Spin is good combo with Headlong Rush, giving it the Mammospine coverage. Boots is so that hazards don't affect it and it can rapid spin effectively against rocks, spikes, T-Spikes, doesn't really matter. Terra type, I preferred Steel here, but you can honestly get away with mostly anything like Poison, Water, Grass. It doesn't really matter that much, but yeah, this is the set. I chose Great Tusk mainly for rapid spin and hazards. Now rocks alone probably isn't enough, as I lack in special attack. I need to make up for the special attack, so I'm going with the hazard stack approach. Hence, the third Pokemon I preferred is Ting-Lu. Ting-Lu gives me spikes and Tusk gives me rocks. Ting-Lu is also an amazing Pokemon which helps versus stuff like Raging Bolt and Iron Moth, which Darkrai has struggles with. Those are not the only Pokemon which Ting-Lu walls. Ting-Lu can basically 1v1 or wall any Pokemon it wants to. It has Whirlwind to phase out the rest of the Pokemon and make use of the hazard stack to chip them. It has Ruination to do 50%, one of the best moves in the game. It's very free to spam and you always get value out of it. And Earthquake as a stab, amazing move. Ting-Lu has decent attack, so it still hits pretty hard. Max Pidef, but you can probably play around with the EVs if you want. 8 speed is for opposing Ting-Lu's. For faster Whirlwind, you can reduce it, increase it, doesn't really matter that much. Ting-Lu's Terra Water is for defensive capabilities like versus Iron Moth's Fiery Dance or Walking Wake and Sun's Hydro Steams or other such things. Usually Terra Water works pretty well with Spadef, but you can also go with Terra Ghost to help in spin blocking versus Tusk if you want. Now that I had hazards and hazard removal to help Darkrai, I had to go on to the next things. Who's gonna spin block for me, and something that synergizes well with Darkrai on the typing basis. With that, I obviously came up with Gholdengo, one of the new Pokemon of SV, an amazing Pokemon, one of the best in the game. It has a good as gold ability which blocks all status moves, absolutely busted. Air Balloon allows it to come in on Great Tusk freely unless it Ice Spinners you, after which you can still bait 50-50 turns on Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam killing it or it clicking Headlong or Rapid Spin. It synergizes extremely well with Darkrai and Ting-Lu, even Great Tusk, as it resists Moonblast. It's also immune to fighting. It has amazing synergy with all these 3 Pokemon. and I chose Wisdom on this to help with Zamazenta. I chose Terrafried Dazzling Gleam over Make It Rain on this, as I believe this makes it a better cleaner and a sweeper at the end, because you aren't dropping your special attack every time you're trying to hit a Pokemon. But you can go with probably any move you want, Thunderbolt, Make It Rain, Focus Blast also even, but probably not. Dazzling Gleam is better than that. If a Great Tusk Ice Spinner is on you on the switch, you can stay in on their Headlong, Terrafried Dazzling Gleam and kill it off. After that, they won't have any hazard removal and hazard stack will just destroy them. Now that I had hazards, I had good synergy with Darkrai, I had hazard removal. Next thing was getting something that gets rid of the boots or other items which prevent hazard stack from putting in work. Introducing Ogerpon-Wellspring. I'm running Knock U-turn set on this to make maximum use out of the hazard stack that I have. But Knock and U-turn aren't the only reason that I'm using Wellspring here. Wellspring acts as a secondary SPDF wall with Terra Water, giving it a plus SPDF boost thanks to its ability after it Terras, and it works as an amazing breaker. Now not only that, since you see that Gholdengo is basically the only spin blocker on the team, unless you make this Terra Ghost as well, you need something that presses Great Tusk extremely well, which Ogerpon does. Great Tusk usually runs Rocks, Ice Spinner, Rapid Spin and Headlong. Ogerpon can switch in pretty comfortably on that and threaten it out. As you can see, Darkrai and Gholdengo also like to weaken stuff like Ting-Lu, and Ogerpon-Wellspring works extremely well with that as well, as it can threaten out Ting-Lu pretty easily and come in on it. So overall, extremely good synergy, powerful breaker, knockoff to get rid of boots, and U-turn to keep the momentum up. Honestly, not much else to say. It's just extremely good synergy with these, and it filled all the roles that I need to, along with being one of the top Pokemon of the meta. Now for the final thing, I needed something that was off the ground. Air Balloon alone isn't enough for like a bulky offense team like this, and I needed priority. So obviously who else but Dragonite. Dragonite is a flying type. It is extreme speed for priority along with Terra Normal. I prefer Dragon Tail on this to make use of hazard stack, as I have mentioned it like countless times. It is the main point of the team, making use of hazard stack. Roost for longevity against stuff like opposing Ogerpons. Earthquake is for stuff like Gholdengo and King Gambit. Now, near max attack for making best use out of extreme speed. You can play around with the EVs if you want. This speed is for opposing Dragonites or other such Pokemon which creep Adamant King Gambit. You can probably use any speed. This is just what I ran. Boots to make use of the multi-scale. Multi-scale is an amazing ability as it takes half damage from any hit. This works extremely well with Roost as well, as it brings it back to full, and then basically any hit it's gonna take is half. It can take any super effective hit pretty much and then attack back. So let's say for example opponent has Iron Moth plus Raging Bolt. You let your Ting-Lu take damage to trade for Raging Bolt, but then Iron Moth is the issue. For that you have Dragonite. Dragonite checks Iron Moth pretty well. It can basically check any Pokemon you want in emergency and as priority. And your Ogerpon-Wellspring is another second backup with Terra. So overall, it gave me a flying type, it gave me a Dragon Tail Pokemon to phase out setup Pokemon and make more use of hazard stack. It gave me extreme speed for extremely strong priority. Overall, as you can see, there's a lot of synergy on the team. Ogerpon is for knocking everything and getting rid of the ground types. Gholdengo is for fighting and fairy types. Ting-Lu Great Tusk is the hazard core. Dragonite is the priority and phasing Pokemon. And star of the team, which the team is centered around, is Darkrai. Now this set is amazing, who most of the time wins in the end game, like 90% of the times. And if this isn't winning, your Dragonite, Gholdengo or Ogerpon will likely win. So yeah, that's pretty much how you team build in SV. You have a star Pokemon or an idea. You build around it, how to maximum utilize it. As I realized, I'm not running special attacks, so I have to make up for it somehow, and the best way to make up for it is putting hazard pressure. Since I'm not running boots, I need removal, then I need something that blocks hazards, I need priority and a Pokemon off the ground, then I need something that removes heavy duty boots and threatens the Pokemon that my Pokemon has troubles breaking or would appreciate to break faster. Now playing wise, I'll just mention quick things. Use Darkrai's Wisp or its ability to pressure things early, but do not let it take much damage. So to explain it, like let's say an Ogerpon or an King Gambit is in front of you, you can Wisp it, but don't try to trade versus it, because Darkrai is extremely crucial in the end game. Unless its matchup is extremely horrible, in which case fine, you can sack it. Same goes for Ogerpon, Gholdengo, Dragonite. These Pokemon are extremely crucial in the mid to late game as well. Dragonite helps in revenging and phasing. You can use Pokemon like Ting-Lu early, phase through them if you want to, get your hazards up so you can start putting up pressure. Ruination is also an amazing move to chip everything for Darkrai. And with a stall, you have an knockoff U-turn Ogerpon, which should break apart the teams pretty well early on. Get your hazards up, and then save your Terra for Darkrai. Terra poison the Darkrai, click Nasty Plot versus things like Blissey coming in, Nasty Plot again, then Dark Pulse and try to flinch it. Once it's in somehow softball range, you can Wisp it and try to play around the odds. Usually I've played like 6 stall games versus it and I've won all times, provided they didn't have Clodsire. Versus Clodsire, you have to rely on your Ogerpon knocking and putting up the pressure. But for the only Blissey stall teams, this Darkrai works pretty well. You have to just focus on maximizing your odds of breaking through Blissey with the flinch plus crit chances. So yeah, that's that. Versus Echo, you can use Ting-Lu plus Dragonite. They should do well. And versus balance or bulky offense teams, you can use Darkrai plus Gholdengo plus Ogerpon to usually win up the games. One last thing that I forgot to mention. Don't use bad Pokemon or bad sets just because you want to use them. There should be very clear reasons on why you want to use them and their effectiveness on the meta. If a Pokemon isn't OU, it's probably not OU for a reason. Now in cases, some Pokemon are underranked, like in UU or even lower. That's because they're anti-meta picks, and that's where key aspects of team building come in. It's about identifying the bad Pokemon or the conceived bad Pokemon or bad sets and believing in it, making good teams out of it. If you use bad Pokemon, bad sets just because you want to, or for like very obscure cases, it's not gonna work out, and that's just bad team building. Now once again, I would like to reiterate, non-OU Pokemon or non-standard sets are always fine as long as there's good reason to use it and you believe in it with good testing to prove that it works. For this Darkrai, I've been exclusively spamming this set for like the better part of last 3 weeks, and I truly believe this is the best Darkrai set. And to prove that, my friend already won with it in SPL, and I have multiple teams with this. All have done extremely well on ladder with like 1950, 1980, some reached even 2000 with extremely high GXC as well, to prove to myself that this is one of the best Darkrai sets. Hopefully this Yap session was good enough. See ya.